Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Crypto Philanthropy, your guide to crypto-powered change. Nick Mikhalevsky from The Giving Block here, and we have a really great episode lined up for today. Today we're talking about a really unique organization called Sostento. Sostento provides rides for folks to get access to healthcare when they need it, and we've got two representatives from Sostento's Crypto Advisory Board. And Sostento's taking a really unique approach to crypto philanthropy, which is what this show is all about. So I'm really excited to welcome two guests to the show today. So I've got Darin and Karin Kusano. Darin is a technology, a policy, and social impact leader who spent a lot of time at Coinbase, where he helped launch Stand with Crypto, and he's led some initiatives focused on advocacy, education, and community engagement. And Karin is a crypto market strategist, a speaker, and an advisor with experience across trading, fintech, Web3, digital asset innovation, and she currently serves on not just the Crypto Advisory Board at Sostento, but also speaker for the National Cryptocurrency Association. So together, they both bring a really unique perspective for today's conversation around crypto adoption, financial empowerment, and the role that digital assets are playing in creating some positive social impact. So Darin, Karin, welcome to the show.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
So I guess, I guess in no particular order, maybe, Karin, I'll go to you first. Tell us a little bit about your crypto background, your journey. What was the genesis? How'd you get involved in it?
Mine is somewhat of an unconventional story, but I also think it relates to a lot of people just out there in the world trying to maybe look for answers when it comes to rearranging their finances, learning how to rebuild from almost nothing, from scratch. Like, how can they participate in the financial system, and how can they do it with very, very little capital or very little means to start? And so for me personally, I was in a situation, a relationship that was one that you fell into the regular gender norm roles of money, right? The man takes care of the bills, the finances, the credit. And when you do that, unfortunately, you give up a lot of awareness, you give it a lot of control. And so because of that, I found myself in a situation where eventually over time, I had very, very little access to any sort of credit, any sort of money. There was absolute chaos when it came to understanding, the debt that we were in, and also very, very little avenues and remedies that were provided to be able to fix those situations. It was one where there was a lot of, I feel like, coercive control. And so because of that coercive control, I wasn't actually able to find even a little small beginning of how to get myself out of my situation. I wanted to look for different avenues. I wanted to learn how to become self-sufficient and stable, but I had no idea how to. And so then go on to crypto Twitter, as you will say. I think a lot of us who have been in the industry for a little bit understand a lot of our journeys started on some sort of social media platform. I went to crypto Twitter, and I actually started realizing, like, oh my God, all these people on here are transacting about something called Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they had so much excitement about it and money. And it wasn't, for me, about getting rich quick. It was literally about, these people are transacting on an asset all over the world, and they're existing outside of the system. And it was vibrant, and it was like, I couldn't believe I was seeing people hold money who didn't have traditional bank accounts. I couldn't believe I was seeing people transact, yet they were in the middle of nowhere in Latin America. And it just really opened my eyes to being like, okay, if these people can do something with their personal finances, so can I. And so then I slowly, any single bit of money I could come across, I literally just squirreled it away. I did it on chain. I did it on cold storage. I just kept accumulating tiny little bits, sat by sat, right? Like, just trying to get it together. And then eventually, because of market dynamics, because of a ton of people in the crypto community that helped teach me how to dollar cost average, they taught me how to put things on cold storage. They taught me how to keep things safe from being seized or drained or taken away from me. I was able to actually save enough to be able to exit my situation and end that relationship and have my 4 kids with me. And it was scary at the time. It ends well. But that's what crypto gave me. It gave me a community to be able to understand this technology, and it also gave me a way to rebuild a future that I never imagined I could have before.
Yeah, incredible. And I think that sort of crypto lifeboat scenario story is something we hear all the time. And it's a really inspiring and a story that I think a lot of people really resonate with. I guess, Darin, shifting to you, what was your journey, and did you have sort of a similar draw in terms of this is a new system and that's why this is really exciting? How'd you kind of get down into the crypto rabbit hole?
Karin, your story is remarkable, and my story is similar but in different ways. I would say my journey in crypto actually started a long time before I even knew what crypto was. My senior year at Penn State, I wanted to study abroad, so I was a researcher at the University of Cape Town, and my research topic was using mobile applications for social impact and social good. So I spent a lot of time in townships with people that had very limited financial access and also had a lived experience as a foreigner myself, right? This is the first time where I actually am experiencing some of the pain points of a financial system that's not designed for you as a foreigner. So even getting my own money was very difficult. It was very expensive. I got to observe firsthand the power of the American dollar abroad, but also just how money itself has been architected has been broken across the globe. So when I went to Zimbabwe and I literally see paper money floating in the streets, these are all experiences that like helped shape a foundation of how I see money and how I see economic freedom. So after my thesis in Cape Town, I graduated. I lived in Philadelphia for a few years, and I was an auditor at EY. They sold me on the consultant life, but really I was an auditor. But it was a blessing in disguise because I got to actually travel across the world and audit data centers before data centers were cool. I'll put that in air quotes because a very hot topic today. But through that experience, I got an opportunity to interview for an amazing company called Salesforce. I moved out to the Bay Area, accomplished my dream of working in tech, and I had a roommate named George who lived in our room junior in San Francisco, and we'll explain what that is in a minute. But we're all crammed in this apartment, and George is so enthusiastic about cryptographic technology, about Bitcoin, about Ethereum, and about what this means for the future of humanity. He wasn't just excited because he was an engineer at a Google spinoff company. He was excited because he truly felt like this was an opportunity to drive economic freedom. And thankfully, Coinbase was right across the street. And I had interviewed with Coinbase about 7 years ago and caught the crypto wave at the right time. But really what drew me to the community was the mission, and something that I truly love about the crypto community and even crypto Twitter is that they're mission driven, they're high agency, they're collaborative, they're a community that will teach other people as well. So Karin, to your story about how other people have embraced you and brought you in and have taught you skills and have embraced you in a certain way. I think that's something really, really unique about the crypto community that gives me hope for how crypto and causes like healthcare and Sostento can work together to actually solve some real world problems. And my final piece here is at Coinbase, I started in security, briefly worked on our Coinbase giving team, so social impact, and then finished my career on our US policy team, so federal and state advocacy and education.
Excellent. So, yeah, both really interesting firsthand experiences with your own situations and wrangling with certain challenges, and then seeing that community again, sort of pulling you into something that really opening your opportunities for either your own situations or just seeing a new sort of opportunity for the larger picture. And speaking of the larger picture, Sostento's done some incredible work here in the healthcare space. And what you said, Darin, just now about the crypto community being really mission driven, mission focused, super generous. It's really interesting how Sostento is also seen that too and has put together this sort of crypto advisory board. Maybe a question for both of you, and whoever wants to jump in first can. Um, how did that crypto advisory board kind of come about? Can you talk a little bit about what the advisory board is and what you guys are hoping to achieve with that?
I guess I'll go first. First of all, I'm super grateful that Sostento started this crypto advisory board, because it brought in a lot of people from very many different backgrounds in the industry. And it kind of focused around something that we're all passionate about, which is going to be access to healthcare, to keeping people in that continuity of care that they might not have had before. And so what I think is beautiful about the advisory board is that all of us have worked in different facets and aspects of the industry. In the fintech itself and crypto and blockchain technology, it's going to eventually touch every single one of our lives, right? And so we are just trying to get ahead of it going into areas that we know it's going to be indispensable, like healthcare. And so when we look at this advisory board, is a wide range of people looking at everything from giving, raising funds, to how can we keep things private, autonomous, how can there be verifiable rides and transactions. So it's really this all-inclusive scope of how blockchain technology and crypto in itself is going to actually come together, affect the most vulnerable communities and populations and end users, but to do it with all of our brains. Now, I think what's also exciting is the next step is that we have an opportunity to go out there and talk to people in industries that have no idea about what's happening in crypto and blockchain technology. I think that's also something that Darin and I are very, very passionate about. It's to show people, and the rest of the crypto advisory board, to show people that, this is going to be the future. We hope you embrace it. And the more education we can give you, just the faster we're going to go to helping socially impact some of these most vulnerable communities and vulnerable members. And so that's why I'm super excited about the board. Big brain trust, if you will, of some of the best people I know in crypto, and super excited about it. And Darin, I'll let you take over from there.
Yeah, no, I would also echo that sentiment, that one of the things that really excited me about the crypto advisory board, which was formed in, I'll call it late 2025, but we've had multiple touch points since then. And even before the board formally organized, Sostento has a long history of working with the crypto community. But as Karin was alluding to, it's like the Avengers when we all sit at the table. There's roughly 15 of us. I remember during our initial call, and we were doing our round robin, everyone was like introducing themselves and their background. Was really, really, really impressed with the expertise that Joe and Sostento was able to attract to the table. And it's all about bringing the talented minds together as if it's like a potluck. We all bring a little bit of something different, and we have a beautiful feast as we bring everyone's specialty together. But it's also about addressing the need that is immediate and here. And I think that's what the crypto community has proven time and time again. We act quickly. As Karin was alluding to, whether you have a little or a lot, you're allowed to participate, and everyone's contribution is counted and is impactful. So I think that's one of the most exciting things about where Sostento is going. And then the final piece here, to give a bit of background about Sostento's engagement before the board formally organized. I believe in 2021, they held like an NFT fundraiser. They raised a ton of additional funds for healthcare workers, obviously in a time of stress. And then they've also done another collaboration with the crypto community on healthcare worker burnout programs, because our system has been overwhelmed. So if you're in crypto, this can be a bridge to real world healthcare outcomes. And that's why we're excited that we have such talented people on the advisory fund. But also there's tons of people who are listening to this podcast who care about crypto and philanthropy and want other opportunities to engage.
I just wanted to add one last thing, because I have a trading background. So you look at this huge amount of wealth creations, because now everybody has access to certain assets, right? So we're looking at all of this tremendous, in the trillions of dollars of liquidity that's coming on chain, that's coming on board. And what I like to say as a trader or somebody who's in the markets with like these large funds who they've made many people wealthy, is that I say, there is no better way than to choose an avenue that you're passionate about. And I think Sostento and healthcare is a great avenue. One, because they already have familiarity with the crypto community. But two, if you're just somebody that is transacting in crypto every day, you already know the power of fractional giving. You already know the power of that 0.1 Ethereum going somewhere. You already know the power of those sats going somewhere. That's where the giving block comes in terms of being able to take in as a funnel all of these donated fractionals. And so I say, we are in a tough time in the market, not financial advice at all, but the sun will come out again tomorrow. And we always say that in crypto. People say it with a little bit more color than that. I like to be a mom and be more positive, and so in saying that, I say, if you have the desire, the need to give, and you are in these liquid markets, and especially for my community of the trading community, I challenge you to give just a fractional. I challenge you because in itself that there's going to be, that could multiply. That could be a multiple later on that will grow. If it's certain assets, that it is going to grow, just based on the dynamics of the asset itself. And so I just challenge people to do that, because what I see is, crypto, we are one of the fastest, most fascinating moving markets in fintech. We can have such a tremendous impact, but a lot are not embracing it, because I think, giving is just coming on board. So, that's why, also thank you for this podcast to get the word out to all my trader bros, all my trader friends to, hurry up and start giving these fractionals, right? Like I'm not even saying give a whole of anything, whole token, just start giving. And we all know the market's going to go up eventually, and it'll be worth way more than it is now.
Yeah, and I think to sort of wrap up this point, I mean, Darin, I totally agree when you're saying like when you get sort of that team together and you're really excited about getting stuck into a problem and having all these great backgrounds, it just energizes you. You want to just get out there and make things happen. And Karin, you're absolutely right. Like when everybody can participate and the community has started to embrace philanthropy in a really big way, and we're seeing just the acceleration over the time that we've been here at the Giving Block, helping just nonprofits understand the power of this community. What's really cool in recent years is just how much I guess like traditional kind of community that now has is owning some of these assets can start giving in capacities that they've been used to giving, but also the young folks are just so jazzed about being able to have a capacity to give, and maybe something much more than they potentially were originally thinking. They might have been used to putting $100 or less on a credit card, but now they might have the capacity to give thousands, and we've seen that happen. And the crypto community is so passionate about those causes, and certainly in recent years they've really rallied around plugging holes in for organizations that have experienced some turmoil with grants and whatever it might be. We just don't want to see the programs we care about go away, and crypto has been such a really great avenue for nonprofits to tap into some generosity that's out there that is becoming unlocked in a really new and exciting way.
Nick, if I can
Yeah.
like respond to that piece as well, because I think you said something super powerful when you're talking about this generation wanting to plug holes that they see. We don't want to see our systems deteriorate in real time. People don't want to sit on the sidelines and be a witness as things corrode and just start to crumble. We want to act. And the crypto community has both this insatiable optimism about them, like it'll be all right. Like it's anti-fragility, right? Like that is absolutely an attribute of the crypto community, but it's also very high agency and mission forward. So I think what you were alluding to with the fact that, hey, we are going to plug holes where we see gaps or address certain systemic issues, and we want to do it in a way that's quick and transparent. Those are really powerful elements that the crypto community has. And I think that's what distinguishes us from a lot of other people out there in traditional philanthropy.
Yeah, and I guess to put a finer point on this for folks that are listening, I'm looking over here because I've got some notes and I've got some stats here, and I want to go through it because I think it's to Darin's point here. So I know, according to the work that Sostento's been doing, right now, 3.4 million Americans are projected to lose insurance coverage in 2026, with a 7.5 million more at risk in 2027. Now, Sostento has already delivered 50,000 free healthcare rides and $4 million in workforce funding since 2019. So, this new campaign that you guys are rallying around, is scaling that proven model and helping to just accelerate, this program. I guess, kind of going back to you, Karin, in terms of thinking about the advisory board and your own situation, what gets you excited about this campaign? What do you think people should know about this campaign specifically, and what you're launching?
So this, I think what's amazing about this campaign is that, it's not asking for the moon, right? I think the beautiful thing about crypto is that it can be as individual as you want to make it, and it's everybody's own personal journey and how they want to get involved, and there's no judgment there. And the reason why I say that is I do have a slight nonprofit background. And in that, everyone goes after the big whale, right? As we like to say in crypto, it's like everyone goes after the big whale in terms of giving. I think the beautiful thing about Sostento is that because they're so focused on the individual and delivering the best care possible to both the healthcare workers for workforce development, sustainability, but also for the individual users getting rides, right, to keep that continuity of care. I think what's beautiful about it is, the fund is starting out as an initial call to action for 250 people who are willing to take the plunge with us, who are willing to take the leap and know that their donation in crypto, but hey, I'm not going to reject fiat either. I'm crypto native, but whatever it is, and that they are going to, support this mission, this journey to continue to providing those rides to those most in need, to those that are uninsured. And I'll relate it to a personal story of why I'm so passionate about it is because, there was a time in my journey after coming through that relationship or the ending of it, is that I found myself living in a hotel room with 4 kids, with no car, pretty much no access to credit cards, no money, and there was a lapse in insurance. So I just remember there were times where I was so scared and terrified pretty much of figuring out, what if I need to go to the emergency room? Like, what are my kids going to do? How are we going to get there? Not only how are we going to get there, it's like, okay, if it's a true emergency, I'm going to call an ambulance and go to a hospital and wreck myself financially, because on paper, it looked like I was a normal middle-class housewife. But the truth of the matter is that, I had none of the tools that the traditional system said that they would provide in terms of a safety net to be able to take care of my kids and provide them with the continuity of care. It was a very, like my heart rate's even racing right now because it was a very scary time because, I found myself in a situation where I thought I would never find myself. And so I have so much passion and compassion for those that are dealing with situation of either the loss of care or how am I even going to get a ride to the doctor or to the hospital. Not only that, it's, because my situation was super chaotic, even, there were times even before I had left that we had moved over 18 times in 3 years. So there was no ability to keep continuity of care, even where I had like a consistent urgent care or consistent doctor, and so even keeping track of those records was really, really frantic and chaotic. And, I think that's, what is beautiful at Sostento too, is that they're also educating their patients of, this is what good care looks like. This is what the continuity looks like. This is how you are a part of the system. I think when people feel embraced and they feel not judged and they feel as though that they can participate and have a meaningful place in society, and it starts with healthcare a lot of times, then they are going to just be able to grow as an individual and hopefully find themselves out of the difficult situations they're in. So that's, why it's so important. Please give, please be a part of our original 250 donors, that's going to be kind of taking this thing to, not to sound too crypto, to the moon, and provide those rides to those single moms, provide those rides to the elderly that can't get to their appointment, provide those rides to the domestic abuse survivor, whether they're man or woman, and they don't realize that, they too can have like a meaningful healthcare and be taken care of. So that's my whole call to action, I guess.
Yeah, really powerful story. Yeah, thank you for sharing it with us, Karin. And Darin, I guess over to you. Like, what gets you excited about the campaign?
Wow. Well, Karin, your story is so powerful, and it's honestly like a testimony to how crypto can impact things that are core to every person. Your wealth and your health has been positively impacted as a result of this, and I just think it's remarkable that you also give the call to action for other people to give back, and you're giving back yourself. So that's why when I say our crypto advisory board is full of Avengers, this is what I mean. For me, the story is also personal. My mom is a nurse. She's worked at Henry Ford Hospital, Strong Memorial Hospital for decades, an ICU nurse at that. So has come home with some really, really tragic and wild horror stories. So growing up, healthcare has always been something that our family really regards. And to the point earlier about this is an opportunity for the community to really make a difference in people's lives. For me, success with this fund looks like someone hearing this saying, I want to give a fractional, and there's a family out there who didn't miss an appointment because someone who they never met decided to give. And for the person who decided to give, we commit to you. We're going to report on our impact. We're going to be as transparent as possible. We want to bring you along for the journey, and that we've proven that this model works and that we want to scale it together. But it takes all of us to opt in and say yes, and to really lean in and take our turn and choose to make an impact. So for me, it's seeing one family who's received a free ride, or a healthcare worker who's received a training because people were impacted by this conversation that we're having.
I think Darin and I both got into crypto because of the unbanked, right? I think a lot of us, we hear the term all the time, unbanked, but there's very little ways that we're individually able to fix it, right? Like, we have to go through institutions, onboarding, payment rails, to create these systems, traditionally merging with crypto so people are banked and not unbanked. But what I think the beautiful thing about Sostento, and, to Darin's point about providing that family with a ride, that's like kind of bank, or like, it's taking the unbanked in healthcare, if we will, or however you want to say, the invisible, and giving them visibility, and kind of bringing them into being healthcare banked, I guess, if you want to use that term. And so I'm super proud and grateful for everyone on the advisory board. Can't wait for people who participate and get involved to meet everybody, including Darin. And so it's just a very exciting time, and I'm very optimistic about what Sostento is going to do in the future.
Yeah, I think for anyone that's listening, or for the other nonprofits that watch these and are trying to understand how to approach the crypto community, they've been hearing things about some of the great work that's come out of the crypto philanthropy movement, and are interested in learning more. I think at the end of the day, what we're saying here, and we sort of hear this too, like philanthropy is one of the most tangible use cases for crypto. We always hear like, what is the use case for crypto? I couldn't think of some more visceral use cases right here. And we see this every day at the Giving Block when we see, some of these, we have front row seats to, some great causes. So this is kind of the, I think, embodiment of that real crypto use case. So for folks that are listening to this, it's, another great cause to learn more about, to get involved in. And from my own experience too, when you talked about, given some of those fractionals, I mean, I can speak, to a really small anecdote from a couple years ago. I mean, I was learning more about an organization that needed some funds for some critical medical research. And a fractional amount of some cryptocurrency provided a huge amount of hours of medical research. That was the easiest gift to make in under 30 seconds. And, boy, did I feel good about, doing that and thinking about what's happening, what's getting unlocked, and so that's why we see so many people giving and just the excitement for people to give in a capacity that they might not have had before in traditional fiat rails. I was going to say, what kind of things does that kind of like bring up? Does this, anything like I'm missing here, or anything I'm overlooking? I want to turn it to you both to just kind of give you the floor.
I personally think, and like you said, it's about not only, tapping people who can give and want to give. It's also about spreading awareness to people who might not have ever given before, right? Because they might not have been able to. And the reason why I say that is brings me to a kind of personal situation. And this also hopefully encourages everyone listening, including nonprofit organization, NGOs, or individuals to onboard into learning about crypto and to look for those safe, trusted sources for crypto education, is because, there was a time where it's an example, Turkey earthquakes, right? The earthquakes in Turkey, they were totally devastating. It was crushing to see like how many people had lost their entire homes, their families, all their assets, everything they had built up. And we, as a group of traders, now this was during the Gensler time. So, I can safely say that now, but during that time, we were pretty much not able to be very public. We weren't able to be very public about our giving, what we were able to give. And no, we didn't do it through a traditional organization. And I would never suggest doing this at all now, because there are traditional organizations to give through. But at the time, it was a friend, and he literally had lost family members, but had other needs for medicine, food, and all the banks and all the infrastructure and all the ATMs, everything had been offline. All electricity was destroyed. So there was no electricity to get anything out of anywhere. But, this person still was able to travel west to some of the bigger cities that weren't affected by the earthquakes, and was able to message us on Discord. Also, be careful, but we're on Discord, and messaged his situation. And all of us go, okay, well, we're going to figure out what we can give. So we all pulled some money together, and we sent it to this individual. And this individual was able to rent some shelter, rent a car, food, medicine. He even was so sweet. He sent us like the receipts from the pharmacy to prove that, the money that was given was actually used for things that he had said. But I think what's amazing is that none of us have ever met in person. All of us live in totally different countries, totally different time zones. We're all anonymous to each other. We were able to pull together funds, send it to somebody. We were able to check to make sure that our funds made it, because it was on chain. So we just verified the addresses. And I mean, look at the impact it made for this one individual, from people that don't know each other, never met. We're all anonymous. We're able to transact, and we were able to do it within hours of this event and this tragedy happening, where the money was waiting for him.
Amazing.
Don't tell me that that's not incredibly powerful, and that at that time, we had to do it somewhat in secret. And, I am proud for how far this industry has come. I am proud for where we're going. It is one of the most revolutionary technologies, and it is going to revolutionize philanthropy and giving. I 1,000% believe that.
Yeah, I guess, Darin, the floor is yours. Anything I might have overlooked, or anything you want to make sure that folks listening just, know from your own perspective?
Obviously, top of mind, I'm going to give the call out to please visit Sostento.org, obviously to be ready to participate when the call to action gets out there to join the Founders Fund. And then the last piece I will say is on the topic of proof of impact and using this as resilience technology, and what are the use cases for crypto. I do think that crypto is resilience infrastructure. Karin, you were explaining a situation that happened in Turkey. At Coinbase, I helped lead a program in a partnership with Hope for Haiti, where we responded in similar fashion to their earthquake. And we used stable coins and work with Hope for Haiti to distribute aid locally. We work with vendors to bring all of their inventory on a blockchain. And then we created this closed loop ecosystem where we said, hey, you guys can trust this program, and we're going to distribute the funds on chain to 160 families and verify that it's spent for food and water and all of the needs that they have. And you can produce this trust score. And before, that was one of the big barriers to international aid. It's option A is, ship a pallet of cash across a border, or deal with the physical security implications of people trying to deal with money, or you can distribute digital money that's programmable and transparent and can be used in a fashion that you can help direct. And I think that's going to be the future of philanthropy. It's going to be the future of climate response. It's going to be the future of healthcare. This is absolutely a technology that's going to be folded into the future of real world use cases. So for anyone out there listening, don't just think of crypto as finance. Know that crypto is resilience technology.
I love that. I love that. We've had over the course of the podcast some international aid organizations that are doing just that. The money's got to get there to meet the need. And sometimes the channels are literally shut down. There's no way to get, or it's very hard to get the traditional money in there, but being able to beam these funds anywhere in the world on demand whenever those situations arise is something that international aid organizations are starting to learn more about. Some are moving into that quicker than others, but I think you're right. We're moving in that direction. It's going to be really interesting to see how this whole industry evolves. But I guess to to start to sort of wrap up, I mean, what I would say is that for nonprofits that are listening to this, check out Sostento, because they've put together this crypto advisory board. They've engaged with the crypto community now for a number of years, and we get so many questions from nonprofits that are trying to understand how to engage this community, how to learn more about, how do they get folks excited about understanding, what they're working on. And there's so many folks out there that want to support so many different causes. This is a great kind of organization to learn more about, to see what they're doing, how they're putting this together. They've got some great folks here in Darin and Karin for sure. So we'll put all the relevant links in the show notes. But I guess for you, Darin, if folks want to get in touch with you or learn more about the work you're doing, how do they do that? How do they connect with you?
Yeah, to connect with me, please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm going to try and post all of my updates there. That's the best place to just kind of stay plugged in everything that I'm building.
Got it. And Karin, how about yourself?
I'm a trader first, so on Twitter, I'm at Crypto Mom Life, but then also LinkedIn, I'm Karin Kusano, Karin with an I, one of the only ones out there, KarinKusano. And thank you so much for having us.
I love it. Well, thank you both for joining today. We're really excited to see what you both are going to help unlock in terms of Sostento's campaign and just spreading larger awareness. We're really excited to see what comes of this. And for everybody else, like I said, we'll put all the relevant links in the show notes so you can not only learn about Sostento and the work they're doing, but if you have any other questions around crypto philanthropy in general, of course, our team is always here to help answer those questions. So with that, Darin, Karin, thank you so much for joining and spending some time with us today. And for everybody else, we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.